Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Starbound, watching the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime was huge, bigger than any city he had ever seen. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved around it, like insects around a bright light. Some were sleek and silver, others were dark and angular. A few looked like they were made of living metal that shifted and changed color as he watched. "First time seeing something like this, Captain?" asked Lisa Park, his chief engineer. She was a small woman with grease-stained hands and bright eyes that missed nothing. She had been working on starships since she was 16, and Jake trusted her more than anyone else on the ship. "First time for all of us," Jake said. "Earth has never sent a ship this far before." Ben Cole, the communications officer, looked up from his station. "The Zephrians are sending us docking instructions. Bay 47, level 12. They say to follow the green lights." Jake nodded. The Zephrians were the ones who had invited humanity to join the galactic community. After months of radio messages back and forth, they had finally agreed to meet in person. The Starbound carried 200 of Earth's best people, scientists, engineers, doctors, and diplomats. This meeting could change everything for humanity. "Take us in nice and slow," Jake told his pilot. "We want to make a good first impression." The Starbound moved through the space traffic with careful precision. Jake watched other ships dock at the station. Some were tiny, barely larger than a shuttle. Others were massive cargo haulers that could carry entire cities. His own ship was somewhere in the middle, large enough to cross the galaxy, but small enough to be fast and maneuverable. Dr. Amy Foster joined them on the bridge. She was the ship's medical officer, a calm woman who had volunteered for the mission because she wanted to learn about alien medicine. "Are you nervous?" she asked Jake. "A little," he admitted. "We're representing all of humanity. That's a big responsibility." "The Zephrians seem friendly enough," Amy said. "Their messages have been polite. That's what worries me," muttered Matt Turner, the security chief. He was a big man with scars on his hands from years of military service. "In my experience, when someone is too polite, they're usually hiding something." Jake looked at him. "You think this is a trap?" "I think we should be careful," Matt said. "We don't know anything about these people except what they've told us. They've had weeks to prepare for our arrival."
Yes.
The Starbound slid into the docking bay with a soft thump. Jake felt the ship shake slightly as the docking clamps engaged. Outside the windows, he could see Zephrian workers moving around. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large eyes. They wore simple work clothes and moved with quick, efficient motions. "Atmosphere checks out," reported Carl Brooks, the environmental scientist. "We can breathe their air, but I recommend keeping the environmental suits handy just in case." "Understood," Jake said. He turned to his crew. "Remember, we're here to learn and make friends. Everyone stays professional. We want them to see the best of humanity." The airlock cycled open, and Jake stepped onto the station. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth normal, making him feel like he could jump higher than usual. The air smelled clean but strange, the metallic undertone that made his nose twitch. A group of Zephrians was waiting for them. The leader was taller than the others, with intricate markings on his forehead that seemed to glow faintly. He stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Captain Morrison," he said in perfect English, "I am Ambassador Kethel. Welcome to Nexus Prime." Jake bowed back. "Thank you for inviting us. This is a historic moment for humanity." "Indeed," Kethel said. "We are eager to learn about your people, but first, you must be tired from your journey. We have prepared quarters for you and your crew. Tomorrow, we will begin the formal meetings." As they walked through the station, Jake noticed how different everything was. The corridors were wider than those on human ships, and the walls curved, in strange ways that hurt his eyes if he looked at them too long. The lighting was soft and blue, and he could hear a constant low humming that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "The station is beautiful," Amy said to their guide. "Thank you," Kethel replied. "It has been our home for many generations. We hope you will be comfortable here." They passed through a market area where dozens of different species were buying and selling goods. Jake saw creatures that looked like walking trees, others that seemed to be made of liquid metal, and some that were so strange he couldn't even guess what they were. The variety was overwhelming. So many different people, Lisa whispered. The galaxy is vast, Kethel said. There are thousands of intelligent species, each with their own gifts. Humanity will find its place among them. They reached the guest quarters, which were spacious and well-appointed. Jake's room had a large window that looked out at the stars. He stood there for a moment, thinking about how far they had come. Earth was just a tiny dot of light somewhere in the darkness. Captain Ben's voice came through the communicator. I'm picking up some strange readings from the ship. Might be interference from the station's systems. Keep monitoring it, Jake said. Let me know if anything changes. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on what it was. The Zephrians had been polite and welcoming, but there was something in their eyes that made him uneasy. That's warning echoed in his mind. In the morning, he would begin the negotiations that could bring humanity into the galactic community. But first, they had to survive the night. Unknown to Jake and his crew, other Zephrians were already moving through the lower levels of the station. They carried small devices that looked like harmless maintenance tools. Their leader, High Commander Vexstar, watched from a hidden control room as his agents prepared to plant the devices that would doom the human ship. Are you certain this will work? Asked one of his subordinates. The humans are primitive, Vexstar said. They will never detect our modifications. By the time they realize what has happened, they will be stranded on Keth-9, and the galaxy will be safe from their influence. He turned to watch the human ship through the security cameras. Soon, the Starbound would carry its crew to their doom, and humanity would become nothing more than a cautionary tale. The Starbound had been in hyperspace for 3 days when everything went wrong. Jake was in his quarters reviewing the diplomatic agreements when the ship lurched violently, red lights flashed, and the emergency alarm screamed through the corridors. He grabbed his uniform jacket and ran toward the bridge as the ship shook again, throwing him against the wall. Report, he shouted as he burst onto the bridge. Lisa Park was bent over her engineering console, her face pale. Multiple system failures, Captain. The hyperspace drive is fluctuating. Power conduits are overloading throughout the ship. Can you stabilize it? I'm trying, but it's like the whole ship is fighting against itself. These aren't random failures. They're coordinated. Ben Cole looked up from his station, fear in his eyes. Captain, I'm detecting massive structural stress on the hull. If we don't drop out of hyperspace soon, we're going to tear apart. Jake felt his stomach drop. Drop us out now. I can't control the exit point, Lisa said, sweat beading on her forehead. The navigation system is compromised. We could end up anywhere. Better anywhere than dead in hyperspace. Do it. The ship screamed as it tore through the barrier between dimensions. Jake felt like his bones were being pulled apart and reassembled. The lights flickered and died, plunging the bridge into darkness except for the glow of emergency systems. When the shaking stopped, Jake slowly got to his feet. The bridge was a mess of sparking cables and broken equipment. Damage report. The hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, reported Matt Turner, blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. Emergency bulkheads are holding, but barely. Life support is failing on 15 decks, added Dr. Amy Foster as she arrived on the bridge with her medical kit. I have teams working to evacuate the affected areas. Where are we? Jake asked. Kate Sullivan, the navigation officer, was trying to coax information from her damaged console. Unknown system. I'm detecting one planet within reasonable distance. It's not good, Captain. Desert world, thin atmosphere, no signs of civilization. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his crew was looking at him, waiting for orders. These people had trusted him to lead them safely across the galaxy, and now they were stranded in unknown space with a dying ship. Options. Need to land, Lisa said. The ship won't hold together much longer. Whatever they did to us, it's getting worse. Systems are failing faster than we can repair them. The planet. Carl Brooks had been running atmospheric scans, breathable air but barely. High radiation levels, extreme temperature swings, frequent dust storms that could strip the skin off your bones. It's not a place humans are meant to live. How long can we survive there? With the ship's resources, maybe 6 months. Without them? Carl shrugged. Weeks. Jake made the hardest decision of his life. Prepare for emergency landing. All hands, brace for impact. The starbound fell toward the planet like a wounded bird. Lisa managed to fire the emergency thrusters at the last second, but it wasn't enough. The ship hit the desert surface at tremendous speed, carving a deep furrow in the sand before finally coming to rest. Against a rocky OTCROP. Jake woke up in the medical bay with a splitting headache. Dr. Foster was moving between beds, treating the injured. How many? He asked. 37 dead, she said quietly. 62 seriously injured. We were lucky it wasn't worse. Jake forced himself to sit up despite the pain. The ship. Go see for yourself. Outside, the starbound was a wreck. The hull was cracked open in several places, revealing the twisted metal and melted circuits inside. The front section was completely destroyed. Sand was already blowing through the gaps. Covering everything in a fine orange dust, Lisa approached him, her engineering uniform torn and dirty. I've been checking the damage. The hyperspace drive is completely destroyed. Even if we had a full repair facility, it would take years to fix. What about communications? Ben Cole shook his head. The communications array was sabotaged before we left the station. I found the devices this morning, sophisticated work. Someone wanted to make sure we couldn't call for help. The pieces fell into place in Jake's mind. The Zephrians. To be, Matt said. They had access to our ship. They knew our systems. Jake felt anger burning in his chest, but he pushed it down. Anger wouldn't save his crew. What do we have to work with? The manufacturing bay is intact, Lisa reported. Most of our tools survived. We have raw materials from the cargo holds. The reactor is damaged but functional. Food supplies? 8 months, if we're careful, said Amy. Less if people are doing heavy work. Water. That's our biggest problem, Carl said. The recycling systems are damaged. I'm detecting underground water sources, but they're deep. We'd need to dig. Jake looked around at his crew. They were bruised, scared, and stranded on a world that wanted to kill them. But they were still alive, and they were still looking to him for leadership. Listen up, everyone, he called out, gathering the survivors around him. I know this looks bad. I know you're scared. Hell, I'm terrified. But we're not dead yet, and as long as we're breathing, we keep fighting. He pointed to the wreckage of their ship. Zephrians thought they were sending us to die. They wanted humanity to disappear quietly, with no witnesses. Well, they made one mistake. What's that? Asked someone from the crowd. Jake smiled grimly. They underestimated what humans can do when they have their backs against the wall. We're going to survive. We're going to get off this rock. And when we do, we're going to make sure the galaxy knows exactly what happened here. The wind picked up, blowing sand across the crash site. In the distance, Jake could see storm clouds gathering. The planet was already trying to kill them, but humans were very hard to kill. 3 weeks after the crash, Jake stood in what used to be the ship's main cargo bay. Now it looked like the biggest junkyard in the galaxy. His crew had torn apart every system that wasn't keeping them alive, sorting the pieces into careful piles, metal here, electronics there, power cells in a separate corner. Tell me we're making progress, he said to Lisa Park. Lisa wiped sweat from her forehead, leaving a streak of grease behind. More than I expected, honestly. The Sabotage. Devices were built with Zephrian technology. When I took them apart, I found some interesting things. She held up a small crystal that glowed with soft blue light. This is their version of a computer processor. It's about 100 times more. It's powerful than anything we have on Earth. And there are 12 of them scattered through the Sabotage. Devices. Jake examined the crystal. It was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse with its own inner life. Can we use them? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Their programming language is completely different from ours, but the basic principles are the same. If I can crack their code, we might be able to integrate these into our own systems. Across the bay, Matt Turner was organizing salvage teams. The security chief had adapted quickly to their new situation, turning his soldiers into scavengers and miners. Captain, he called out, you need to see what we found in the northern caves. Jake followed Matt outside into the blazing heat of Kethnine's afternoon sun. The temperature was over 50 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cook a human if they stayed exposed too long. Everyone wore protective suits that Lisa had cobbled together, from ship materials and fabric from the emergency supplies. The caves were a 20-minute walk through the rocky terrain. The ground was covered with strange orange, sand that seemed to shift and move even when there was no wind. Carl Brooks had warned everyone to stay on the marked paths after discovering that some areas of sand were actually pools of liquid that could swallow a person whole. Inside the caves, the temperature dropped to something almost bearable. Matt led Jake deeper into the tunnels, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The walls were covered with veins of some kind of mineral that sparkled like diamonds. "Look at this," Matt said, stopping at a large chamber. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The chamber walls were covered with crystals that gave off their own light. Some were as small as his thumb, others as large as his whole body. They ranged in color from deep red to brilliant white, and they all hummed with energy. "Carl says there's some kind of natural energy storage system," Matt explained. "The planet's core generates massive electrical fields, and these crystals collect and store the energy. Some of them have been charging for thousands of years. How much power are we talking about? Enough to run our entire ship for months, maybe years." Jake stared at the crystal formations. "The Zephrian sent us here to die, but they accidentally dropped us on top of a gold mine. Back at the ship, Dr. Amy Foster was making discoveries of her own. She had set up a makeshift laboratory in one of the intact compartments and was studying the local plant life. Most of the planet was desert, but there were patches of strange vegetation that seemed to thrive in the harsh conditions. "Captain," she said when Jake found her bent over a microscope, "you're not going to believe what I've found." She gestured to a collection of samples on her work table. The plants looked nothing like anything from Earth. Some were twisted and black, others were translucent and seemed to glow from within. "This one here," she said, pointing to a purple, moss-like growth, "produces a compound that's better than any painkiller we have. This vine makes a natural antibiotic that's effective against infections our medicines can't touch. And this fungus," she held up a sample that looked like orange coral, "actually helps human cells repair radiation damage. The planet is trying to heal us? Not exactly. But evolution here has produced some amazing chemistry. If I can synthesize these compounds, I can extend our survival time significantly. Maybe even improve our health beyond normal human levels." Meanwhile, Ben Cole was working on a different kind of discovery. He had salvaged the communication equipment and set it up in a new location, away from the ship's interference. For days, he had been scanning space for any signals, any sign that someone out there might help them. What he found was much more interesting. "Captain," he said, excitement clear in his voice, "I've been intercepting Zephrian communications. They think we're dead. They reported to their government that the human ship was destroyed in hyperspace." Jake felt anger rising in his chest again. "They're covering their tracks. That's not all. I've been analyzing their communication protocols. Their encryption is good, but not perfect. I think I can break it with enough time and processing power." "Much time? Months? Maybe a year? But if I succeed, we'll be able to listen in on everything they're saying. We'll know their plans, their weaknesses, their fears." Jake looked around at his crew. They were dirty, tired, and working with salvaged equipment in impossible conditions. But they were making progress, were adapting, they were surviving. "I want daily reports from all department heads," he announced. "Lisa, I need to know how long it will take to integrate that alien technology. Keep working on those medical compounds. Matt, expand the mining operation. Ben, break their codes. Carl, find us more resources. What's the goal, Captain?" asked Kate Sullivan. The navigator had been helping coordinate the salvage operations, but Jake could see she was thinking bigger. Jake smiled for the first time since the crash. "The goal is to build something the galaxy has never seen before. The Zephrians want us dead? Fine. But we're going to come back from the dead, stronger than ever." He pointed to the wreckage of the Starbound. "That ship was built to explore and make friends. The next one we build is going to be different. It's going to be built by humans who know what the galaxy is really like. And when we're done, every species out there is going to know that humanity is not to be underestimated." The crew looked at him with new hope in their eyes. They had work to do. 18 months had passed since the crash, and Keth-9 no longer looked like a graveyard. Where the Starbound had once lain broken and dying, something incredible was taking shape. The new ship rose from the desert floor like a metal mountain. 3 times larger than their original vessel, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, Jake stood on a newly built observation platform, watching his crew work. Hundreds of people moved across the ship's surface like ants, welding, installing, and testing systems that shouldn't have been possible to build. The hull gleamed with a strange metallic sheen that seemed to shift colors in the sunlight. "She's beautiful," said Lisa Park, joining him on the platform. The chief engineer looked older now, her hair streaked with gray from months of impossible work, but her eyes burned with the satisfaction of a job well done. "Tell me about the hull, Jake," said Lisa, smiled. "That's the best part. We mixed the crystalline metals from the caves with our own alloys. The result is something that's nearly indestructible. I fired a plasma cannon at a test sample yesterday. It didn't even leave a mark. And the power systems? Better than I dreamed. The Zephrian quantum processors are integrated with our own computers. The ship doesn't just run programs it thinks. It learns. Yesterday, I watched it redesign its own cooling system to be more efficient." Jake raised an eyebrow. The ship is redesigning itself.
Exactly.
But it's constantly analyzing its own performance and suggesting improvements. It's like having the best engineer in the galaxy working around the clock. They walked down to the main construction area where the new hyperspace drive was being installed. It was massive, twice the size of their original engine, and it hummed with barely contained energy. The crystal formations from the caves had been carefully integrated into the drive system, creating something that was part human technology, part alien engineering, and part natural phenomenon. "How fast will it go?" Jake asked. "I honestly don't." "No," Lisa admitted. "The theoretical calculations suggest it could be 5 times faster than anything currently in space. But we won't know for sure until we test it." Dr. Amy Foster approached them, carrying a tablet full of data. The ship's doctor had been working on more than just medicine during their time on Keth-9. "Captain, I need to show you something." She led them to a section of the ship that looked different from the rest. The walls here had an organic quality, as if they were grown rather than built. Plants from the planet covered the surfaces, their strange colors creating patterns that were both beautiful and alien. "This is the biointegration section," Amy explained. "I've been working with the plant compounds I discovered. Some of them can actually interface with our technology. They make the ship's systems more efficient and help repair damage automatically, so the ship can heal itself." "To some extent, yes. If we take damage, these biological components will work to seal breaches and reroute power. It's not perfect, but it gives us capabilities that purely mechanical systems can't match." Jake was impressed, but also worried. "Are we still human? Or are we becoming something else?" Amy considered the question carefully. "We're still human, but we're humans who have learned to work with alien technology and environments. We're adapting." Ben Cole's voice crackled over the communication system. "Captain, you need to get to the bridge. I've got something important." The bridge of the new ship was nothing like the Starbound's command center. It was larger, with stations, arranged in a circle around a central holographic display. The walls were covered with screens showing data streams, star charts, and tactical information. It looked like something from a science fiction movie, except it was real and it worked. "What do you have, Ben?" Jake asked. The communications officer was grinning like a child with a new toy. "Cracked. Their encryption. I can now intercept and decode all Zephrian military communications within a 50 light-year radius." "Show me." Ben activated the main display, and suddenly the bridge was filled with alien voices speaking in translated text. Jake read the messages. "With growing interest and anger, Battle Group 7 is moving to patrol the Outer Rim. High Commander Vexstar reports no signs of human activity in the target system. The Council is pleased with the success of Operation Silent Death." "What's Operation Silent Death?" Jake asked. Ben pulled up more files. It's what they called the mission to sabotage our ship. But that's not the worst part. Look at this. Messages appeared on the screen and Jake felt his blood run cold. Phase 2 preparations are proceeding on schedule. The Earth system will be isolated within 6 months. The human homeworld must not be allowed to send more ships. The contamination must be contained. Recommend deployment of the void mines around their solar system. Jake stared at the messages. They're planning to attack Earth. It gets worse, Ben said. I've been tracking their fleet movements. They're positioning ships to cut off all hyperspace routes to Earth. They want to make sure no one can warn your planet about what's coming. Matt Turner, who had been listening from his security station, spoke up. How long do we have, based on their communications? Maybe for months? Before they complete the blockade? 6 months before they start the actual attack. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. It wasn't just about his crew anymore. Earth itself was in danger, and they were the only ones who knew about it. Options? He asked. Lisa checked her engineering reports. Ship isn't finished, but she's space-worthy. Could leave now if we had to. Weapon systems? Matt grinned. Oh, we have weapons. I've been very creative with the crystal energy systems. This ship could take on a Zephrian battlecruiser and win. It's just one? Well, let's find out. Jake looked around at his crew. They'd come so far from the desperate survivors who crashed on this planet. They'd built something incredible. Something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Get me a communication channel to Earth, he ordered. Sir, it will take months for a message to reach them through normal space, Ben said. Then we'll have to deliver it in person. How soon can we launch? Lisa consulted her checklist. Give me 3 days to finish the final systems checks. You have 2 days? Earth is counting on us, and we're not going to let humanity down again. The Phoenix Rising was about to be born. The Phoenix Rising dropped out of hyperspace above the Zephrian homeworld like a thunderbolt from an angry god. Every sensor on the planet screamed warnings as the massive ship appeared where no ship should be able to appear. The Zephrian defense networks, built to detect any approaching vessel from light years away, had detected nothing until the human ship was already there. Jake stood on the bridge, watching the planet grow larger on the main screen, Zeph Prime. It was beautiful, covered in silver cities that gleamed like jewels against the blue-green landscape. Orbital stations surrounded the world like a crown, and ships moved between them in careful patterns. It was the heart of Zephrian civilization, and no enemy had ever come this close to it. They're scanning us, reported Ben Cole from his communication station. I'm picking up dozens of different sensor sweeps. They have no idea what we are. Good. Jake said, let them wonder. Kate, take us into high orbit. Nice and slow. I want them to get a good look at us. The Phoenix Rising moved through space with fluid grace despite its enormous size. The ship was over 2 kilometers long and bristled with equipment that no Zephrian had ever seen before. The hull shifted colors as they watched, cycling through deep blues and silver that seemed to ripple like water. Captain Matt Turner said, from his tactical station, I'm reading massive energy spikes from the planet's surface. They're powering up their defense systems. Let them, Jake replied. We're not here to start a fight. We're here to finish one. The first Zephrian ships appeared within minutes. They were sleek vessels built for speed and elegance, with the curved lines that marked all Zephrian technology.
Why? Roger, why is it? Why we're wire with why
Alien vessel, came a transmission in heavily accented English. You are in violation of Zephrian. Space. Identify yourself immediately, or you will be destroyed. Jake smiled grimly. Ben, open a channel to the entire Zephrian fleet. I want everyone to hear this. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Phoenix Rising. You tried to kill us, you sabotaged our ship, and left us to die on a dead world. But we didn't die. We survived, we learned, built something better. There was silence from the Zephrian ships. Jake could imagine the confusion and fear spreading through their crews. You're supposed to be dead, came a new voice, older and more authoritative. The human ship was destroyed. I know that voice, Ben whispered. It's High Commander Vexstar. It's on the lead battlecruiser. Hello, Vexstar, Jake said. Disappointed to hear from us? Sorry to ruin your plans? More ships appeared, surrounding the Phoenix Rising. Within an hour, the entire Zephrian home fleet was arrayed against them. Dozens of warships, from fast patrol boats to massive dreadnoughts, all with their weapons pointed at the lone human vessel. You are outnumbered 100 to 1, Vexstar transmitted. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Funny thing about numbers, Jake replied. They don't mean much when you have better technology. Lisa, show them what we can do. The Phoenix Rising's hull began to glow with soft blue light. Energy patterns raced across its surface like lightning trapped in metal, the ship's quantum. Processors inherited from Zephrian sabotage devices and improved by human ingenuity reached out across space. Every Zephrian ship in the fleet suddenly went dark. Their weapons powered down. Their engines stopped. Their life support systems switched to emergency power. The proud warships of the Zephrian home fleet hung in space like dead hulks, completely helpless. How? Vexstar's voice crackled over the communication channel, now running on backup power. You taught us your technology when you tried to kill us, Jake explained. We learned how your systems work. We improved on them. Your ships are built around quantum processors just like the ones you planted on our ship. We can shut them down whenever we want. The silence from the Zephrian fleet was deafening. But we're not here for conquest, Jake continued. We're here to talk. I'm going to restore power to your ships now. Don't make me take it away again. One by one, the Zephrian vessels came back to life, but none of them moved to attack. The demonstration had been too complete, too overwhelming. The humans had just neutralized the entire home fleet without firing a shot. This is impossible, Vexstar said. You're a primitive species. You shouldn't have this kind of technology. We're human, Jake replied. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. You tried to trap us in hell, but we turned hell into a forge and made ourselves stronger? What do you want? Jake leaned forward in his command chair. First, you're going to recall all your ships that are moving toward Earth. Second, you're going to send a formal apology to the human government. Third, you're going to pay compensation for the 37 crew members you murdered. And if we refuse, then we go to Earth. Tell them what you did, and let human ingenuity loose on the problem of dealing with the Zephrian threat. Trust me, you don't want that. Jake gestured to Ben, who activated a new display on the main screen. It showed star charts with the positions of Zephrian military units throughout the galaxy. We've been listening to your communications for months, Jake said. We know where all your ships are. We know your military codes. We know your weaknesses. Right now, you think you're the dominant power in this region of space, but technology changes everything. He stood up, his image being transmitted to every ship in the fleet. The galaxy just got a new player. Humanity is no longer a species. That can be pushed around or eliminated quietly. We're survivors. We're builders. We're very, very good at making friends and enemies. The communication channel crackled with frantic Zephrian voices as commanders tried to understand what had just happened. Their perfect plan had not only failed, but had created the very threat they were trying to prevent.
Ow, we'll be leaving now,
Jake announced. We have to get home and warn our people about your plans, but we'll be back. And next time, we'll bring friends. The Phoenix Rising turned away from the planet, its hull gleaming in the light of the Zephrian sun. As it prepared to jump to hyperspace, Jake sent one final message. "Oh, and Vexstar. Thank you. If you hadn't tried to kill us, we never would have become this strong. Humanity owes you a debt of gratitude." The ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving the Zephrian fleet floating in shocked silence around their homeworld. In the space of 1 hour, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted forever. Earth was about to learn that its children had grown up. The Phoenix Rising emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like a returning hero. The massive ship had grown even larger during the journey home, as its bio-integrated systems continued to adapt and improve themselves. Jake stood on the bridge looking at the familiar blue dot that was humanity's home and felt emotions he couldn't quite name. "Home," whispered Kate Sullivan from her navigation station. Many of the crew were crying, though they tried to hide it. They had been gone for over 2 years and had seen things that would change humanity forever. "Ben, send a message to Earth Defense Command," Jake ordered. "Tell them the starbound crew is coming home with urgent information about an alien threat." Within hours, Earth's defense fleet surrounded them. The human warships looked small and primitive compared to the Phoenix Rising, but Jake felt proud of them anyway. They represented humanity's determination to protect itself, even when faced with the unknown. "Captain Morrison," came a transmission. "From the lead Earth ship, this is Admiral Sarah Kim. We thought you were all dead. The Zephrians reported that your ship was destroyed in hyperspace." "The reports of our death were greatly exaggerated, Admiral," Jake replied. "We need to talk. There are things about the galaxy that Earth needs to know immediately." The Phoenix Rising was escorted to Earth's orbital shipyards, where crowds of engineers and scientists waited to examine the impossible ship. Jake allowed small teams aboard, but kept most of the ship's secrets protected. Humanity wasn't ready for everything they had learned yet. In the briefing room at Earth Defense Headquarters, Jake faced a panel of generals, admirals, and government officials. He told them everything: the sabotage, the crash, their survival. On Kethnine, and most importantly, the Zephrian plan to isolate and eventually destroy Earth. "You're telling us that this entire diplomatic mission was a trap?" asked General Robert Chen, the head of Earth's military forces. "From the beginning," Jake confirmed. "They never intended to let humanity join the galactic community. You see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated." "But why?" asked Dr. Maria Santos, Earth's chief xenobiologist. "We're just one planet. What could they possibly fear from us?" Lisa Park, who had been invited to the briefing, answered, "They fear exactly what happened to us. Humans don't give up. When we're faced with impossible odds, we find a way to win. They tried to kill us quietly, and we came back stronger than ever." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "What do you recommend?" asked Admiral Kim. "We prepare," Jake said. "We build more ships like the Phoenix Rising. We develop the hybrid technology we discovered. And we make sure the galaxy knows that humanity is not to be underestimated." Over the following months, Earth transformed itself. Using the technology and knowledge brought back by the Phoenix Rising crew, human engineers began building a new generation of ships. Each one incorporated lessons learned on Kethnine, combining human ingenuity with alien technology and natural phenomena. Dr. Amy Foster established the Institute for Xenobiology, where she trained new doctors in the medical compounds and techniques she had discovered. Her treatments not only healed human diseases, but enhanced human capabilities, making people stronger, faster, and more resistant to radiation and toxins. Ben Cole became the head of the new Galactic Intelligence Division. Using his knowledge of alien communication systems to monitor threats throughout the galaxy, his teams intercepted messages from dozens of different species, building a picture of galactic politics that no human had ever seen before. Matt Turner trained a new generation of Space Marines, soldiers who understood that the galaxy was a dangerous place where humanity would need to fight for its survival. His training programs pushed human physical and mental capabilities to their limits and beyond. But the most important change was in how humanity saw itself. The story of the Phoenix Rising spread across Earth like wildfire. Humans learned that They had been targeted for extinction, and had not only survived, but triumphed. The knowledge changed everything. "We're not alone in the universe," Jake said, in a speech broadcast to the entire planet. "But we've learned that not all aliens are friendly. Some see us as a threat, some want us dead. But they made one critical mistake." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "I underestimated what humans can do when they have their backs. Against the wall, they gave us their technology and a reason to use it. They forged us in fire and made us stronger. The response from the galaxy was swift and varied. The Zephrians, humiliated by their failure and terrified of human capabilities, sent formal apologies and offers of alliance. Other species, seeing what humanity had accomplished, began reaching out with their own diplomatic overtures. But not all the responses were friendly. Some alien governments saw the rise of humanity as a threat to their own power. They began forming alliances against Earth, planning their own attacks. Jake stood on the bridge of the Phoenix Rising as it patrolled the outer edges of human space. The ship was no longer alone. A dozen other vessels moved with it, each one a masterpiece of hybrid technology. The human fleet was small but incredibly advanced. Captain Ben reported from his station, "I'm detecting unusual movement in the Andromeda sector. 3 different alien fleets are converging there. Hostile, unknown. But their communications suggest they're planning something big." Jake smiled grimly. Let them plan. Humanity was ready for whatever the galaxy could throw at them. "Set course for the fleet rendezvous point," he ordered. "It's time to remind the galaxy why they should have left us alone." The Phoenix Rising turned toward the stars, its hull gleaming with power and purpose. Behind it, Earth continued to build and prepare. Humanity had learned that the universe was a dangerous place, but they had also learned something else. They were very good at being dangerous themselves. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived, forged by adversity, into something stronger than anyone had imagined. They were no longer the primitive species that had sent out a single exploration ship. They were survivors, builders, and warriors, and they were just getting started. The Phoenix Rising disappeared into hyperspace, carrying its crew toward whatever challenges awaited them. Behind them, Earth's shipyards worked around the clock, building the fleet that would carry humanity to its destiny. Among the stars, the age of human expansion had begun.